In a small town filled with peaceful houses and blooming gardens lived Lulu and her newlywed husband, Scott. Lulu was known for her gentle nature and unwavering loyalty, while Scott, on the other hand, had a reputation for being a jealous and possessive man. Their marriage had started off joyfully, but soon enough, clouds of uncertainty began to cast shadows on their once idyllic relationship. Scott's jealousy would often ignite fiery fights between them, causing frequent turmoil in their home. Lulu couldn't understand why Scott's behavior had become so irrational, and she refused to let it drive her to madness. "You can't make me go crazy, and you can't kill me," she would remind herself. As days turned into nights, Scott would spend more and more time away from home, returning late in the evenings. Suspicion consumed him, and he would interrogate Lulu about who had visited or whom she had spoken to on the phone. Any question he asked seemed to ignite a storm, leading to physical or mental harm inflicted upon Lulu. She yearned for the simple joy of a couple discussing their day within the confines of their own home. "I can't believe this is the man I married. I don't even know where he goes except that he sleeps and wakes," Lulu would lament. One day, Lulu reached out to an elderly woman who had always been a compassionate listener. "I understand," the elderly woman would say, offering her sage advice. "You must be big enough to admit your mistakes, smart enough to learn from them, and strong enough to correct them. Don't expect anyone to understand your journey, especially if they haven't walked your path." Encouraged by these words, Lulu underwent a transformative journey. She began to question her actions and choices, determined to break free from the cycle of abuse. As she changed, Scott noticed the difference, and a sense of relief replaced his anger. Yet, he said nothing. The once troubled household began to experience newfound peace. However, as Scott returned home one evening, he discovered a covered plate of food prepared by Lulu. Suspicion overwhelmed him, and he uncovered the plate, only to find a stone and an ant nestled among the food. Furious and seething with anger, Scott was determined to confront Lulu about her behavior. He sought the elderly woman again, insisting that she witness the evidence of Lulu's transgressions. "Now, before I say anything, you will say, 'I understand,'" Scott demanded. The elderly woman, feigning disbelief, agreed to accompany him back home. As they entered the house, they were met with a surprising sight, a table adorned with a delicious feast. Bewildered, Scott realized that the stone and ant had vanished. Lulu, now resolved to expose Scott's manipulations, confronted him. "What exactly is happening to you, Scott?" she questioned. The elderly woman once again calmly stated, "I understand." Scott claimed that Lulu had thrown herself into a well, and he was in deep trouble. He shouted for help, desperately calling for assistance. "Help me, somebody! Lulu has killed me! Please, someone, help!" The commotion attracted concerned neighbors, including the elderly woman, who questioned what had occurred. Scott continued his ruse, insisting that Lulu had taken her life after their argument. He pleaded with them to allow him to follow her into the well. Just as they were about to apprehend him, Lulu emerged from seemingly nowhere, her voice filled with worry. "What's the problem? What happened to my husband? Please talk to me." The elderly woman stepped forward and explained that Scott had claimed Lulu jumped into the well, but it was all a fabrication. Lulu vehemently denied such an act, recounting that they had indeed argued, but she had never mentioned anything about taking her life. As the truth started to unravel, people began to see Scott for the manipulative and deceitful person he was. They realized that Lulu had been living with an abusive husband who would go to great lengths to maintain control over her. The neighbors began to discuss Scott's behavior, labeling him a fool and a madman. The weight of the accusations against Scott grew heavier with each passing day. Eventually, he found himself haunted by nightmares, his conscience tormenting him. His mental state deteriorated, and Lulu knew she couldn't bear the burden of being the wife of a madman, fearing the impact it would have on their future children. Lulu sought solace in the elderly woman's guidance once again. She pleaded with her to intervene and help free Scott from his self-imposed prison. The elderly woman, with a compassionate nod, assured Lulu that she understood. "It's okay. Since you have learned from your mistakes, I will do as you wish," she replied. Turned to the psychiatrist's office, where Scott had been confined. They presented their case, convincing the doctors that Scott was not mentally unstable, but rather a man driven to madness by his irresponsible and abusive behavior. The elderly woman continued to impart her wisdom, reminding them that knowledge alone is not enough. True wisdom comes with time and the willingness to learn from past mistakes. Finally, the doctors agreed to release Scott, acknowledging that his actions were not that of a madman, but rather those of a man consumed by his insecurities and aggression. Scott breathed a sigh of relief, grateful for the chance to start anew. In the aftermath of their ordeal, Lulu and Scott faced a long road of healing and rebuilding trust. The neighborhood, once a source of gossip, became a support network for the couple, offering encouragement and understanding. Lulu knew that their journey together would require patience and forgiveness, but she was determined to create a better future for both of them. And so, with the lessons learned and the past behind them, Lulu and Scott embarked on a new chapter of their lives, striving to nurture a loving and healthy relationship. The elderly woman's parting words echoed in their hearts, reminding them that understanding, growth, and forgiveness were essential in building a strong foundation for their future together. And they lived not just happily ever after, but with a deep appreciation for the journey they had taken to reach a place of genuine love and understanding. The moral of this story is that true growth and understanding require acknowledging our mistakes, learning from them, and having the courage to break free from toxic patterns. It teaches us that the path to a healthy and fulfilling relationship involves self-reflection, empathy, and forgiveness. We must recognize that abusive behavior not only harms others, but also erodes our sanity and well-being. It is only through genuine transformation and the support of wise mentors that we can escape the darkness and find the light of wisdom and compassion. This tale reminds us that our journey toward personal and relational growth is a lifelong process where humility, resilience, and a willingness to listen and learn pave the way to a truly harmonious and loving partnership. The end. Thank you for watching. Consider subscribing for more videos like this from this channel. We love you.